Welcome to Shutter and Flow. Today is going to be probably a little bit of a shorter episode. Jeremy and I have been having some conversations lately, and we wanted to talk a little bit today about competition because both him and I were talking about this the other day. And I think we have some really specific views on competition, the good and the bad. And we thought it'd be interesting to kind of share our thoughts and talk a little bit about what we've seen in the photo industry. This is a conversation that expands well beyond the photo industry and is kind of a little bit more about the creative industry, but I think it relates to pretty much everyone that works in an office even.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's a good thing. I think healthy competition, sometimes it teeters and unhealthy when you want to be better than someone, but you got to not obsess over it. Pushes you to be more creative and do more interesting things and really go above and beyond.
Yeah, I think when I think about competition, I think that you need competition in order to get better, right? Especially from a sports standpoint, but also from the viewpoint of photography. I think there's a reason that people, especially early on, do a lot of photo competitions, right? I think you and I've probably entered in them in the past. I know I did when I was in California. I was in the jury members exhibition in Carmel for, I think it's called the Center of Photographic Arts. And I entered in that and was lucky enough to get a piece in. And I think there's something about that it brings people together. It's a community, but it is competitive. And some people see that as, oh, this is great. I get to be part of this photo competition. And other people, I think, probably get upset that they don't win, or maybe like knock the images that do win, and they're like, mine is better than this, or whatever. And then that goes to the same thing in work, right? And in commercial work and whatever people are shooting. I think there's the same thing. They look at what other photographers are doing or look at what other people are doing. And there are some people who probably look at that and say, oh, that's great. I love what these other people are doing. And then there's people who look at it and say, I don't understand why this person got this job instead of me, or I think I'm way better than this other person. And it sort of like becomes competitive because they let their ego get in the way.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times it doesn't even matter. Sometimes the image and what's produced is only part of it. And I know that sounds weird because your job is to make the best thing possible. But like we've talked about before, sometimes being a friendly person on set and doing all these things that are above and beyond the back end, making sure that everything gets delivered properly. Someone could be an amazing photographer and don't have those other qualities. And then it becomes a game of does the client want to deal with that? Is it worth the hassle? I recently was called about a job from an agency and an agency I worked with before, but a new client, and sent a quote over. And I knew it was down to me and one other person. At the time, I didn't know who it was. I didn't get it. I found out who it was. I haven't seen the stuff yet. It just happened. But I was like, oh, she is very, like, almost more qualified for that than me. And great. I'm glad that she got that. And it's like, I would like to have it. I'm not going to say that I don't want it. And it just makes you got to take that time and maybe gives you a good excuse to work on our portfolio like you and I have been working on, and trying to present yourself better to put your best stuff out there, or then do a test, work on something else. But it's like, you can't get upset over it. Like, oh, I should have had it. Like, no, that's not how it goes all the time. Sometimes it's just do the best you can and root for other people, because like Atlanta's not that big of a photo like groups around here. There's only so many higher end people that will do the jobs and can get the jobs. So if we all do well and we all rise up together. And I think that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I think you and I are both very much in the mindset where it's the rising tide raises all boats. And there are some people I've definitely noticed in the industry in the last 20 years who do not have that mindset. I think as everything starts to shift, and there probably are going to be some really big shifts in the next 5 to 10 years with kind of AI coming in. I think you're gonna see people becoming potentially more competitive. less willing to share resources or connections. And that is going to come from a reaction of probably there being less work. I don't think that's going to happen for a while. And it's going to affect different, like what people shoot differently. Like if somebody shoots architecture, it might affect it less than if somebody's shooting portraits or something. But yeah, I think that I've seen a lot of people in the industry who are super open to collaboration, working with people. Will give other people their connections and say, "Hey, I want to connect you with this other person or whatever." And then there's other people that are so competitive, they hold everything so close to the vest, and they do not share their resources. They will not talk about their clients. They will not share anything, right? Because they're very worried that they're either going to lose a client or they're going to, that somebody else is going to beat them out for a job. How do you see yourself in terms of how competitive you are, right? Because some amount of being competitive is healthy, right? But there's a limit to that.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely just naturally am very competitive. I mean,
Like I
me,
can attest to that in
yeah.
like the personal world for sure.
Yeah. It's like pick a sport, pick a shooting, throwing darts, whatever it is. We've spent enough time together. It's like I can be very competitive on things. Um, but I try not to take it too far, especially if you take everything and if you put too much in it, you don't get it, you could go too far and be disappointed. There's definitely times where I'm like, I could do such a better job on that. I'm going to push extra hard for it and really put it out there. Which I'm getting better at. Like I have something that I'm pitching now. It's not till next April, but it's like I last year had an opportunity, but I didn't push it that hard because I was like, it'll be fine. And then some other people got it. And I'm like, no, this time I'm like going all in and putting every bit of my competitive nature to say, hey, this is what I want to do. And this is how I want to do it. And just hope it works out. And that's what you have to do. But talking about how some people try to hold on to too much stuff. I've even seen people who have a client that they do one thing for, and then that client is like needs something else done. And it's different type of photography, different type of video, different type of whatever. And that person will say, oh yeah, I can do that, even though they can't do it as well as a lot of other people would be able to. And I feel like that's a time where you should just bring that other person in and be like, hey, we could work together on this thing, as opposed to trying to say you can do everything in the world and then the product suffers for whatever you're trying to do in the back end, and then the client may not be happy.
Yeah.
So it's like, use your resources. Sometimes the competition can become a resource and like you're working together as a team.
Right. It's really, I mean, especially if you're thinking of something like video, if a client is asking you if you know like a really good videographer and you do and have a good relationship with that person, that might be mutually beneficial for everybody. You might be able to throw them work, but then maybe one of their clients is looking for a photographer and they throw your way, your work your way. You work as a team a little bit more, which I definitely know there's some people that do that. And then the client is also really happy, and that works. I understand that if it's something that you truly believe that is in your wheelhouse and that you can do, why you wouldn't want to say, oh, let me give you some suggestions of other people, potentially lose future work. So I can definitely see that both ways. But I do think it's the difference of understanding where you're at, like being honest with yourself of, am I just being super competitive or am I being strategic? And I think that's where, a lot of people probably aren't honest with themselves. And I think the more critical you are of other people in the industry, that's probably a red flag that you are being, super, super competitive, and that maybe, I don't know, sometimes a little too like inward focused.
I mean, I've even gone as far as people that I work with here in Atlanta, other photographers that I'm friends with. I know that there's times that we know we're going for the same job. And there have been times that we've talked about it ahead of time and make sure that we're bidding around the same thing. Because we don't want someone, and look, someone else could come in and lowball and whatever. That's going to happen, unfortunately, which is a lesson. Don't come in and lowball. Value yourself, because you never want to be that person that comes in really cheap and then they keep coming back to you, but you're not really making anything on the long run. If once it all settles out, if you don't add in your proper hours and the retouching and all of these things, you're really not making any money.
Yeah.
So you do have to look at it and just be like, all right, we're both going for this job. If that's happening, let's make sure we come in roughly the same. If it makes sense for both of us, and then it's up to the client, and we're just to step out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I call the client separately and be like, no, seriously, you should hire me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, this other person sucks.
yeah,
No, but I think that's the other thing, right? Like it's difficult when it's taking money off, like it's money you could be making, right? I mean, you don't want to look at it as it's taking food off your plate, but you can see it in a sense where it's probably difficult to be happy for somebody else to get work that could be going to you. Um, However, at the same time, the better relationships you have with all the other people in the industry, the more likely it is that you are going to get more work because other people are going to throw your jobs. They're going to say, you're friends with more people, right? You're more friendly with people. They're just going to say, hey, I can't take this. Why don't you call Jeremy or whoever, right? And I think that's probably a better way to operate than the other way, which is to see yourself as a lone wolf and just say like, I don't like I'm the best. I do everything right. I'm better than all these other people. And you're just really out to like get one over on people. I think that never works. And eventually the clients that you do have stop calling and then you're at square one, right? Because then how do you network when you don't even have a network?
yeah. I mean, and we come by it naturally from college. We were very competitive. How they
Very,
set up our
yeah.
critiques and all of our things, it was every critique was a competition, not just oh, let's talk about our feelings and how that was your fine art experience. But we were like commercial photography is like go in there, critique it. What is wrong with it? How to make it better? And I think it's been good for us because we push each other and push our friends and all that to be better. But um, it is easy to take it too far.
Yeah. So a little, I guess, a side story. I think you've heard this, but it might be fun to share. So we went to the Art Institute and the critiques were brutal. And we were encouraged to not necessarily say what we loved about other people's work, but to basically just from looking at it, telling them everything they could have done better from the beginning, right? And not to hold back. And so I went to SCAD for a little bit after I had my bachelor's degree in the master's program at SCAD in Atlanta. And the first critique I was in a studio lighting class, I was politely asked by the professor to step outside for a conversation because I had immediately started tearing a girl's work apart and she was a little upset visibly. So I had learned to just cold-heartedly look at somebody's work and just immediately start telling them like, wow, the lighting's really bad on this. You could have done better on that. I really don't understand what you're doing here. And this just doesn't make sense. It's kind of not really up to par with what, people should be doing at this level and just starting from there. And so I was explained that is not how things work at SCAD. And it's pretty much the opposite approach where everyone handholds a little bit more, and I don't know which approach is correct, right? You get a thick skin in the first way and you get sometimes probably don't get as much critical feedback that you need. And so probably somewhere in the middle and doing it correctly is the best way to do it. And it's, that translates the same to the working world, right? Like being able to give people feedback, give people constructive criticism without berating them because you're so competitive that you just want to say like, hey, I'm better at what I did than what you did,
Yeah. Well, also, you were in the fine art program, and sometimes in fine art, an artist statement is all you need to prove why your bad photo is good.
I learned
So,
that as well, that I was not good at creating artist statements. I just wanted the work to actually look good, which
what,
it wasn't a fit at SCAD. But I
but
think the program's changed, so I don't want
yeah,
to
I was going to
badmouth
say two
SCAD.
things. One, obviously, Art Institute was not the good place because it's no longer a school,
That's
but
true.
it was for profit issues. But also, they have a commercial program at SCAD now. I haven't experienced it, but I have heard it is very different and very and much into that world that we're talking about. And obviously, a lot of entertainment stuff being in Atlanta, they try to lean into that. But even though I was just reading something that nothing's getting filmed here anymore. But we'll find other things to work on. Yeah. So what about retouching? How do you see it as a same thing, just competition
It's
between each other?
competitive, but I think it's a little different. I think because a lot of the retouchers that I've worked with over the years are either in-house or freelance, or they kind of go back and forth. Like they'll be in-house somewhere for a year or two, then they'll go freelance somewhere else. It's actually, or at least in my experience, a little bit more communal, in which, I know retouchers all over the country, in all the different cities I've lived, have a ton of connections with them. And it feels a bit more like, hey, if you need help on a project, I'm happy to jump in. Or if there's an opening somewhere, people probably reach out to their other friends that they know that they've worked in different places. It kind of works a little bit differently. I think it's competitive in the sense of there's only so much high-end retouching jobs to go around. And so there are some people that want those roles. And it can probably get a little competitive if you're in-house somewhere and maybe there's a senior level position opening up. But I haven't had the same experience with retouchers as I have seen come from photographers. And I think that kind of goes across the board for maybe like other parts of the industry. But I have definitely met retouchers that are super competitive, or that look at the work that they're doing and compare it to the work that other people are doing, or thinking that maybe they're better at somebody, at doing a certain type of work. And I've seen that, but I would say it's probably more rare. And I think maybe that's because a lot of people who are retouchers are kind of a little bit more behind the scenes, and they're kind of, most of them that I know have worked in-house somewhere at some point in an office setting.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of commercial freelance photographers, assistants, digital techs, they haven't. And when you work in a business, like at a company, you have to learn to work with other people, and you see those people every day. And you also have to understand that like some of those people are career driven. They want to be there long term. Some of those people are not there for that reason. They just want maybe the paycheck for like a certain period of time. It changes probably your perspective on how you treat people, and you see it as better to be friendly and have like that network, as opposed to being like, I want to be the top, I need to be the best, like, these people aren't as good as me. I think that's like a terrible mindset to have, and I think everyone's probably guilty of having that at
For
some point or
sure.
another with everybody, right? But
For
it's
sure. When I see something that someone shot that I maybe had potential to be the one, and I don't like it, I'm like, oh my God. But at the same time, there's no right or wrong on an art. And it is even commercial. It's still creating something that it could be considered art or whatever you want to call it. Just because you like it doesn't mean the client doesn't like it. It's like it goes, so you can't be too hard on yourself because everyone sees it their own way.
Yeah.
And you just have to go with that mindset.
Yeah. So when we were thinking of doing this episode, I was curious to look up. I'd read about this study a long time ago. I'd forgotten about it, so I looked up some of the details. But there was a Harvard study that was done, I think, back in like 2018, 2020. And they looked at competition for logo design. And I think they used 99 designs as kind of their base, some like 10,000 designs. And they found the big takeaway is, if there's not enough competition, that's bad. And if there's too much competition, that's bad. Too much because basically what happens is people don't care as much, or they feel like it's too overwhelming. And not enough basically means that they're not trying hard enough or doing as good. So they call it, Goldilocks zone, and that basically says that with the right amount of competition, people push harder and the work is better. And I think that's maybe what everyone should be trying to think about in whatever they're shooting, right? If they're feeling like there's too much competition, that might be the reason why they're feeling some burnout. And if they're feeling like whatever they're doing, there's no competition, they might not be pushing themselves hard enough to be better at what they're doing. And so I think it's about trying to find that balance. So I would say for like anybody listening or watching, think about what you do. Think about what the level of competition is. Is it challenging enough for you? Is it too challenging because there's so many people being competitive? In which case you probably need to figure out what it is that sets you apart from the other people you're competing with, and competing in quotes. And how do you view competition? Because I think it's something that, even for me, it's always a good reminder. I mean, nobody's perfect. I'm certainly not. And so I think it's always a good reminder to think about these kind of things.
And if all else fails, I think that we should start a photo walk competition
Yeah.
where we go on some cool photo walks and just
Yeah.
do that. And like best photo wins another photo walk. How about that? No?
Yeah. Okay. So a moment on photo walks. Okay. I don't want to badmouth people who are doing photo walks. I know
Look, if you're learning, it's
Jeremy
fine.
might want to right now,
It's
but
fine.
there's definitely a time and a place for them. I will say something. If you are doing a lot of photo walks, that maybe you need a little more competition, because you're not going to get anything out of them. It's the person next to you is going to get the exact same shot. If maybe you're trying out new gear or something, or you're brand new into photography, 100%, right? It could be super helpful. You're around other people that are doing it. You're learning something, but it's very different. It's a different experience. Doing a photo walk is a totally different experience than setting up a shoot yourself, right? And that's the hard thing of setting up the shoot yourself. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to.
All photo walks all the time. That's
Yeah,
all you
I
need
don't
in
want
your
to
life.
badmouth
It's going to be
everyone
great
that does
because
that.
then it gives more work for me because you're never going to get a job if that's what you're leaning onto.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of competition, photo competitions, I'm just going to say this. Enter them if you want to. I'm about to enter a bunch more because I've done some over the years, but I've never really done it a lot. And there's like, you know what, I need to do some. They're a crapshoot. You never know what's going to win. It's you have to look into the judges. The judges are specific. Don't get upset if you have even if you have an amazing image that doesn't make it in. You can't be upset over it, because I've had things that were amazing images and communication arts. Like I get shortlisted, doesn't win, and then other competitions, it gets nowhere. And it's like, you can't ever rely on those. If you want to do them, great. I think they're fun, but it's tough to rely on those.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so talking about photo competitions a little bit, there are two types, right? You have your online or publication type, and then you have sort of like an in-person gallery show or whatever it is. I guess we could talk about the first one first. If you're submitting images to communication arts or any other
There's a
type of
refocus one,
online,
IPA,
yeah. There's always a good chance that because it's easy to submit work to them, and there's no in-person part of it, that they are going to get a massive amount of submissions as well. So if you don't get chosen, it shouldn't be like a blow. It should just be the expectation that your work isn't going to get chosen unless you've already been in the competition a bunch of times or built a huge name for yourself. And so that's part of it. And then if you do get chosen, you should feel good about that. But it can also be a little bit of a false positive, right? You could say, hey, this work that was selected to be in this is the best representation of my work. And the truth is that it's not. It means that whatever you submitted resonated with whoever selected that image that year or that quarter or whatever the competition is. I think the in-person ones, even though they're probably not as prestigious, can kind of be more fun. There's a better chance you're going to get into them if you haven't done photo competitions before, and you actually can go meet in person with the other people that were selected, which gives you an opportunity to kind of get out there and meet some other people that are shooting different things, because you are going to meet people that are not shooting the type of work you shoot. So you're going to meet totally different people. And try not to look at all of it, even though we're calling it a photo competition. Try not to look at it as a competition. Just try to look at it as something where you want to show your work. And so it's an opportunity to show your work.
Yeah. And it's a great way to do it besides putting it just on Instagram all the time, which is important. Everyone has to do it, but it's like there's other ways to put stuff out there if you want to go down that road. But also you can have a very successful career and do all sorts of commercial work and never do any photo competitions ever.
Oh, 100%. There's a lot of people who you're just not going to see their work in any competitions, or you're not going to see in communication arts or anything like that. They'll have paid advertising work, right, in archive. Some of the people that you'll see their work in archive, you probably won't see them in a photo competition, but their work's in archive because their rep is paying to get their work there, and they're busy. They're shooting. They're not going to take a ton of time to do that as well.
I need to teach my kids how to enter stuff for me. That's a good idea.
That's a great idea.
I mean, he turns 10 this week. It's like, I can get him out there like, here, fill out this form. And also, I'm going to get him to set up my home server and do all my backups.
100%. Well, and that way, if you don't get selected for photo competitions, you can just blame it on your kid, right?
I think that's a great plan. I see
Cool.
nothing wrong with this. That's healthy competition right there.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I think it's a good place to wrap up. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. This is still a brand new podcast for us. So if you're still listening and watching to this point, we really appreciate it. And I don't know, like and subscribe. That helps us out.
Yeah, we're going to have some more interviews coming up. We're working with some people we know and then trying to get some other people, other photographers that shoot different stuff and really dig into that. I think it's going to be interesting. Other creative directors, all across the board. I'm even talking to a food stylist right now and being like, hey, what can a photographer do? Because I just had her on set for something. What will help you? What will make it better?
Yeah.
So that's such a specific thing, but it's so much knowledge and makes your shoot so much better to have something like that. So I want to hear from them. But anyone else, if you guys have anything else you want to hear from any other type of person, send us a comment and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.